Tune in every Tuesday at 9 p.m. for Nightcap Knowledge. Put the children to bed, get your adult beverage, and get ready. Nightcap Knowledge is rated black and uncensored and hosted by longtime community organizer and entertainment professionals, Mr. Mac and DJ George Chuck. Real talk, real issues, real solutions. Nightcap Knowledge on Facebook, IG, and Twitter. Tune in and share.
Black with no chaser.
Thanks for everybody tuning in right now. This is Nightcap Knowledge. This broadcast is brought to you by the Mississippi School of Health Services and Careers. Begin your career in healthcare today. Phlebotomy tech, nursing assistant, soft skills training, allied health and medical assisting services, COVID-19 and community health worker. For more information, visit mshscschool.com. That's mshscschool.com or call 769-572-7490. We also want to recognize Meals That Heal, Mississippi's first 100% plant-based cafe, open Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and 4:30 to 8 p.m. right there on 612 North Fair Street, Jackson, Mississippi. Downtown Jackson, that is. You can order online, mealsthatheal601.com. Make sure you're sharing this broadcast right now. Looks like we're having a couple difficulties on Facebook. We're going to get it worked out. Hang tight. Black-owned water company, black-owned water, drink black, live black, be black. Aspire Pure is available at Amazon.com. You can go to Amazon.com/Aspire Pure. Put in your shipping address and it will show up at your front door just like that. Aspire Pure. Refreshing taste, keeping it simple. We already got folks showing up in the comments. Shout out to all our folks on the YouTube and on Twitch. We're trying to get our Facebook community plugged in over on Nightcap Knowledge and the Black with No Chaser.
Black with no chaser.
If you're here and you're on Twitch, make sure you share it to your stream. If you're on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and share it there. And if you can get over on Facebook, do the same. Make sure you're subscribing to Nightcap Knowledge on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Nightcap Knowledge will begin in 1 minute. This broadcast is also brought to you by the Epps Institute, healing the entire you. Check out more information on the Epps Institute at eppsinstitute.org. Please go check out the book, I Kissed Clinical Medicine Goodbye by Terilyn Cannon Knight, MD, a guide for physicians who want to pivot to a non-clinical career. Once again, we want to recognize the Mississippi School of Health Services and Careers. Begin your career in healthcare technology today. Call them at 769-572-7490. You can reach out to them online at mshscschool.com. We also want to make sure that you know all about the Ribs, R&B, and Rose Day Party and Cook-Off. That's Saturday, October 2nd. You can find out more information about that. R&B Jackson, that's jxn.com. R&B and Ribs, jxn.com. We'll see y'all in a minute. Let's go. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing out there in WW land? And I have WW land in the building, in the studio tonight. We are here. My name is George Chuck, and I have my big brother, Black Jack Kennels, aka Huberto Jackson. What's up, Bert?
What's good with your Jorge?
Hey, man, I'm over here trying to hold it in the road, keep him swerving.
Is bad words available on? Can we say bad words on here?
Hell yeah! What you mean? You want me to drop an F-bomb right quick? Fuck shit.
No, please. Wow, you took me too fast. I just was gonna pay homage to the late great #1 George, assholes and elbows, but
work. Yeah, look, if it ain't no assholes and elbows, you ain't doing no work. You show
ain't
up
no
to
work going on.
You ain't got no assholes and elbows. I don't need to see you yap. I need to see you flap. Come on, Jack.
And what's so crazy, if you don't really understand the connotation, you might need to pay a little bit more attention to Nightcap knowledge.
Right. And there it is. We putting in work over here. And speaking of putting in work, we want to shout out the R&B and Ribs Jackson.com, R&B and Ribs JXN.com, October 2nd, right there in Jackson, Mississippi at Chemistry Hookah Lounge, the Nasty Show. They're the underwriters for this particular broadcast, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you go to the website, get your tickets, get all of those things. Absolutely outstanding day party that we're going to be at. I mean, look, I like Ribs. I like Rose. If you ain't on Twitch, I understand. You know, it's a new platform, but we definitely want to make sure that if you need some new recipes in your life and you need some inspiration for the evening dinners, you need to go over and check out Chef David Mallett on Twitch. And he actually has a website. Dave, go ahead and drop that in the comments. We'll get it on screen. But we also want to shout out one of our biggest supporters, Miss Trina B over there on Twitch. And Trina, if you could go to Facebook and make sure that we're sharing this from both Facebook pages, all of our Facebook pages. We want to make sure that we got our people tuned in. And in the meantime, And in between time, Bert, what you had going on this week, man? You did a couple of little back and forths in the air, didn't you?
Bruh, actually, I just really believe that, it's your season sometimes. Uh, and if you just put forth for effort, not getting all religified on you, on
Hey,
some
look,
of the people.
I believe in caring and cussing.
Hey, God is not through with me. I am a cussing Christian. I live by that moniker.
Hey,
Um, it was, but in all seriousness, I really believe that it's just my season. I took care of some business related to a vehicle,
mm-hmm.
and I had to do a little bit of transaction. Actually, business in the world of business, it's just an old adage: treat people how you want to be treated.
Hello.
Uh, the guy that I was doing business with, he had a little logistical issue, and I put forth a little effort to make it happen for him. And I ended up meeting him in Nashville,
Okay.
Cashville, or
And,
depending on some
and
people who live there, they might call it Blastville.
okay. Now, for everybody that doesn't know, like what your main thing is, or one of your main things, I would say that you're definitely an educator and counselor by trade, but your small business, which
Yeah,
is a growing enterprise.
my
What were you?
small my small business, like my retirement plan is I am a number one, am a breeder, a bully breeder, but
Okay.
I'm actually a bully lover. And actually, another rule of business, if you become stagnant, you gotta stay on top of the trends. You gotta learn how to diversify, expand. If not, you lose sight and you fall behind. So approximately mm, maybe about 9 months now.
Yeah.
I expanded my business, and now we are not only dealing in bougie bullies, we are dealing in fantastic Frenchies. So
Uh-huh.
get at your boy, Blackjack Kennels. Uh, it is not for the weak of heart, but it's a business that can be very lucrative.
Yeah.
But in any business that's successful, it costs money to make money.
That is very, very true. That
So
is very, very true. I know what that means. And
yeah.
shoot. And look, I want to give my wife some credit too. She gave me one of those chin checks one day where it's appropriate for you to receive this type of reminder. And she said, I don't know if you had that same hustle like you used to. And that
Golly.
yeah,
Woo,
yeah,
woo,
yeah.
ooh, that's serious coming from the significant other.
Hey man, look, and
Made you take inventory, huh?
look, I did a whole lot of inventory, and but you need that from time to time. And I don't care where you get it from. Everybody needs, those types of reminders. So
And
I
they
get
come from different places. I just want to throw this out there in the universe and WW land. If
yeah,
you don't have a circle that's trying to make you better, your circle is shit.
that's very true. That's very true.
You need to expand your circle or just rearrange your circle. Like, just throwing it out. Like Chuck is 5 years younger than me. It's hard to keep up with this. He is a entrepreneur Negro. He got about 14 jobs, takes care of his kids. He's daddy daycare. And like you shouldn't be envious of those that you care about. You should see what they're doing, take some notes, and try and keep up. And I promise you, if your circle is positive and doing positive things and you have any hustle in you, I'm telling you, your season will come.
Hey, and look, and that's why we try to put a little something on people's mind before bed, meaning that some of your best ideas may come to you,
Right?
while you're resting, while you're recharging. And definitely want to share the type of knowledge that sometimes, for us that really fool with each other, we might be sitting down having a beverage, or we might just get on the phone and call you, and check in on you, whatever. But there are knowledge, little nuggets, little jewels, or whatever the popular term might be, where we know that it could benefit somebody. So that's what Nightcap Knowledge is about for everybody. This might be the first time tuning in. we want to put something on your mind, something positive on your mind before you go to bed. Now, in my opinion, I think some of the greatest ideas and some of the most influential moments in my life has happened when we're having a good conversation, and we're having a good conversation over beverage. Because if you feel relaxed enough and safe enough with a person to have a beverage with them, then you trust them. So I know that the people that we talk with, not only do we know that they're an expert and we trust them, but we also know that we trust them enough to share their message and their expertise with the world. Meaning that we're not finna bring no bullshit on Nightcap Knowledge.
Absolutely not.
If we gonna do Aspire Pure water, we done tried the water for 2 weeks. We still drinking the water. I'm full. It's not in the Aspire Pure bottle right now, but my friend, it's good. So for the record, I've been drinking Jack Daniels for years.
Well, Puffy, I don't know. I've invested a lot of money in your company, so
Hey, tell P
I'm,
Diddy to cut the check
I'm a Ciroc boy by default.
by default. Hey man, and look, I like a good glass of Ciroc here and there, especially when I'm hanging out with Hubert. But look, we have one of the folks, speaking of hanging out, that you and I have spent a fair share of moments.
Man,
We
man.
we done had some outtales of I get that. Damn, that could be a Q Dog album right there. Outtales,
Outtails.
you know, not
I'd
outtales,
support it.
outtales. Hell,
I'd support it.
that could be an anonymous Q Dog podcast. I don't know, that might be pretty out right there. Hey,
Uh,
well, and there
yeah,
it is.
this bruh, this Mississippi bruh, by way of Texas now.
Text.
Texas. Tupelo, Oxford,
Yeah.
228 for a little bit,
Uh-huh.
and now making things pop over there in Tejas.
Tell you how, save my ass a couple clubs. Hey,
Hey,
Doc, DJ
and
though.
one of the bros, like, it ain't just on no single man groove. We've been there too, but like you can take your family around and be comfortable.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah,
Cause
oh yeah.
he just might karate chop your ass in the throat or shoot you legally.
Might have got chopped. Might have got chopped. But look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we want to bring on the CEO and the lead trainer, the professor of protection. Ladies and gentlemen, I need y'all to give it up for Korah Pounds. Yeah.
What's up, bro?
Hey,
Say with the kids, Rude. What's up going on, gentlemen?
what's
Hey,
going
Doc.
on, Mr. Pounds?
Busy, but never too busy for the good brides.
Rude.
Y'all had me cracking up in the promo section, the early part. I'm over there cracking up.
Hey man, look, it's a great day to be here, to be above ground, and we want
To
to
be
share some light moments.
to be seen and not viewed.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
Vertical and not horizontal.
Right. But earlier you were saying you was laughing at us. I mean, were any lies detected? Did we tell any stories? Any fabrications?
I didn't detect it, bro. I didn't. But the same go for the great brothers. Definitely some good times, some good memories, and some future memories. Hopefully we can make as we stay vertical again.
There you
So
go.
yeah, good time.
There you go. Well, look, man, we definitely want to make sure that we give the people as much as they can stand, in this 45-minute format. And Doc and Korah, thank you for agreeing to come on. We know that there's a lot of conversation about gun safety, gun ownership. A lot of groups are promoting gun ownership in the African American community, the Black community, however you want to identify. But
Biggest sales in 2020.
Come on. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are not only equipped mentally, because we talk a lot about, mental fitness here on Nightcap Knowledge, meaning that you exercise your mind, you try to consume new information every day so that you're more informed and you can make the best decision possible for you and your family. But one of the topics that we've not touched on a lot is self-defense, home defense, personal protection, like things that you can do to make sure that when shit hits the fan is the best way for me to put it, in my opinion. When shit hit the fan, are you really prepared to protect yourself and your loved ones? And I want you to introduce yourself and tell us more about Omega Defense and how you do what you do and how it helps folks.
Okay. So again, I'm Korah Pounds. Have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, a master's degree in criminal justice, as Bert mentioned, originally from Mississippi. Been involved with martial arts since 1995. Made it to the degree of master. I'm a 5th degree black belt, 3rd degree black belt, and I have a black belt in combat aikido. Won a world championship, I think it was in '98. Been instructing since 1997. Law enforcement since 2004, and been training law enforcement and civilians pretty much that whole entire time. Won a few awards for defensive tactics in the academies that I went through. I don't know if I mentioned, been in law enforcement 18 years, and won some shooting awards over the years in the academies and instructor schools, etc. So I'm a licensed instructor for defensive tactics to guns to everything in between. Considered subject matter, well, one of many.
Yeah.
Subject matter experts when talking about use of force and just kind of teaching that license to carry, concealed carry classes. So we kind of do a little bit of everything, or try to at least.
No, that's it. That's it. Now, with all of that, all of those credentials and all of that experience, if you could, in one thing or one sentence, if you could tell people what's the one thing that you can do to be prepared, or a series of things, because you might have a checklist of things that you might be able to suggest. What does it really mean for a person to be prepared to defend themselves?
Training is off top. Like you mentioned earlier, mental training. We totally forget that. You have to train the mind as well as the body. And then you have to train with whatever tool you're introducing into a situation. So you have got to train. A lot of times we are overconfident in our skill sets with no valid proof that it actually works for you, because everybody got their own thing.
Yeah.
But we get really overconfident. And I tell people there's a difference in ego and confidence. Your ego might get you hurt, but confidence is some skill set that you built that's got you feeling like that. A lot of people confuse it.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So when you say training, what types of training do you offer as Omega Defense?
So our training involves actual self-defense, hand-to-hand combat. It involves the mindset, situational awareness, talking about that. That's actually probably the most important part is the mindset, being able to recognize threats before they happen. Because as a regular person, you are always behind the curve, right? A bad situation is going to jump off before you possibly can recognize it if you are in like the not knowing, right? So situational awareness, actual hand-to-hand combatives, and then firearms training to get the fundamentals down, the license to carry. Also, we actually have a program where we can actually do tactical training, but then force on force training, because there are 3 different levels of training, right? So you have your static. That means I go to the gun range, I stand there, and I just shoot. That's static, right?
Okay.
So a lot of people want to get to the major stuff, but they hadn't built this platform yet, right? Like a foundation, like a house. So once you get out of your static, then you get to dynamic training, right? So that is you know how to shoot per se. If we're talking about guns, we know how to shoot. Now we applying movement, right? Cover concealment, things like that too, right? But then the end result where you really want to test yourself is some of that reality-based training, right? So you're taking your fundamentals, your dynamic training. Now you're putting it force on force. And the force on force is when a person like myself or just a random person, we give you a paintball that's made like a gun. We call it simunition in law enforcement. And we put you in a scenario and see what you do.
Yeah.
A lot of people are scared of that level because pain compliance is a teacher.
And what do you mean by, like you said, paint?
Yeah, so you know your normal paintballs, right? That you see with the big gun. Yeah. So they have those that are made exact replicas of Glocks, Smith and Wesson guns, and their sim guns.
Yeah.
So it functions just like a real gun, has a magazine, slide, cycles, all of that.
Yeah.
I have them, and they fit in a holster. So you would go out to a wooded area, or they have a place here in Fort Worth, Fun on the Run, where there's buildings or whatever. As an instructor, I would set up certain scenarios for you that we can either pick from the students or I have pre-written, and you walk into a scenario and really, see what happens.
Yeah.
And I've yet to have anybody sign up because that pain compliance is different. It's gonna test. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I know this. It's gonna test all of that.
Yeah, man. So what does all of this mean? And you said you've yet to have anybody to sign up for this particular training, but what do you think that means? Do you think that people are afraid and don't know what they're saying that they know? And Bert, feel free to jump in. I guess my question is, like, there are a lot of people that own guns, but why do they, or why not they, but why do we not want to train more to make sure that we're as prepared as we can be?
A couple things. Ego, for one.
Okay.
Insecurity, two. And don't want to spend that, number three.
Hello. Okay. All right.
In my program, my classes are not expensive, compared to some others. And I'm not knocking that program, but some instructors do it as their livelihood.
Yeah.
I do it because I just like teaching people, and I want them to have the knowledge base that hopefully it will save a life one day.
Yeah.
I have a main job. I got a lot of stuff going. This is something I chose to do. When you asked about the origins, it came after, hey, take me to the range. Okay. I will take somebody to the range. Take me to the range, somebody else. But then the conversations we were having, I started realizing when it comes to the handling of the firearm, when it came to the understanding of law, when it came to understanding use of force, woo!
But that goes back to that same old adage. And I know we're talking about you and your profession, but it's consistent. People want to put the bike together, but don't want to read the directions.
Yep.
It's the same old adage. It's always consistent, and it was really, really funny because I think it goes against all platforms and all genres. Pride is a terrible thing, and then I put it in front, pride, and then the other aspect of it is money. When it's money involved, and we gotta act based on money, it's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah. And when I talk about insecurities, I did a piece on my Instagram because having a firearm can take a regular person, and make them immediately think they're Superman. Like You could, last week, out of box such and such and such. You give a joker a firearm, they think they are untouchable, like they're the only one in the world with a firearm. It's an insecurity that's immediate, like a sense of power. And I've talked to people. I have a cousin. I think she got her first one last year. And I was like, go get trained. And she went and just shot it. And I said, how did it make you feel? She was like, cousin, oh my God, it made me feel so good. It was that adrenaline rush, right? But it's a lot more that comes with it.
Yeah.
We done messed around and shot her foot off.
Let me ask this question.
You would have got it.
You make a serious point with that. So you said people, when you get a firearm, when we get a firearm, we see this or feel this sense of power. And we want to shout out all the bros that's checking in with us tonight. I saw Herman, and then Rob Houston is also there. And then our sorors, our sisters. I saw Terry Cannon. She's been chiming in as well. And then there's another bro, Damon Harris.
That's my chapter, bro.
Yeah, he being funny on YouTube, bro.
That's what dogs do. Good, bro.
My question is, do you think that translates to new officers? Do you think that they have that same sort of mindset as it relates, like, I have a gun and now I'm more powerful?
It could, depending on the training, right? Because at the end of the day, you still have to take it to the human factor of an individual, right? So you could either have a super overconfident individual, or you could have an individual that's scared.
Yeah.
Let me interject something, because Chuck, you was touching on something that I was thinking as y'all was discussing it. Well, you explained the different levels of training that you go through when you're introducing the people that interact with you, and being through different, I guess, trainings and fundamentals on different levels, whether it be federal, whether it be state, in the different capacities in which you work. How much time is actually spent? Because I know on federal jobs, because I've done some of the training for them, they inspect or they internalize if this person is appropriate for this job, what their mental capabilities or capacities are. Do they invest that same amount of time on all levels of law enforcement? Like, is Johnny the proper person for this job? Is Johnny a thrill seeker? Is Johnny, does he have an IQ higher than a school zone speed limit? Do they check all that stuff?
It's depending on your agency. Simple answer. Depending on your agency. Some are going to have more strenuous checks than others, and then you still have the supply and demand. Like I tell people all the time, you take an individual who is, how should I say? I don't want to say patriotic. I don't want to say that, but an individual who thinks in that realm, and you give him $25,000 a year, he'll take that job and work it to death.
Yeah.
But you take another individual and say, I want you to go deal with the public, do X, Y, Z, put your life at risk, et cetera, and you're going to give me $25,000. I'm like, nah.
I'm good. I'm good.
Right? So your supply and demand conversation comes into it too.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the agency. There is training that's involved in law enforcement. It always could be more. But at the end of the day, you got to have time, budgets, all these things come into play.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah. Korah, earlier you mentioned something about use of force. Typically, we hear use of force as it relates to law enforcement officers, but I kind of feel like you meant that the people that you're training aren't necessarily, through Omega Defense. The people that you were referencing were civilian or, non-law enforcement officer people.
Correct.
talk to us about like what it means for a everyday citizen to know what use of force means and how and what we need, honestly, what we need to know about it. Because I mean, you think about it, like I didn't think that use of force applied to me.
Oh, it definitely does, sir.
I know what you mean. Like, I mean, I got my thing, you know, I had pow. I'm ready to go.
And this might be the next thing going on.
Dum, dum, dum.
It won't let me out. It won't.
Team, honestly, the same thing that law enforcement officers are taught with little variation is the same thing for the public. It's the same law.
So you mean to tell me that use of force, the same law as it applies to law enforcement officers, may be applied in a similar matter of fact? All right, give me a situation. I'm a homeowner, or I am a driver, or whatever. You give me a situation and you show me how use of force could be applied in this particular situation.
Okay, I'll give you an easy one.
Okay, all right.
I'm trying to kill Chuck.
Okay.
Does Chuck has a right, according to the law, if I'm trying to kill him, to defend himself?
And I say,
right?
Uh-huh.
So if I'm Joe Blow and I'm trying to kill his officer, doesn't the officer have the same right to defend himself?
Right. But the use of force, if you, how do I, as the person that, like, all right, I'm finna shoot Korah before Korah shoot me?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a guy, his name is Derek Grace, and he referenced this recently at InvestFest.
Right.
Derek Grace, he's a I guess you would say he's an influencer, but he's you know, in the education field and all of that, where he sells courses. But he's very influential, very notable person. He got, like, you know, the face tats and all of that. But he mentioned that a person was trying to you know, harm him, and he shot the person. Then he called the police, you know, and say, "Hey, look, I've been in an altercation. I shot this guy, and I want y'all to come over here." Which, you know, in terms of protocol, I think he understood that because his family's in law enforcement. But how do you prove one way or the other that Korah was trying to kill Chuck and Chuck was justified?
Okay, so let's go down that
the
rabbit hole. So every state law generally gonna have the same type of verbiage.
Burden of proof, is that right?
No, it's the verbiage. On the verbiage, right? Okay. So generally, you're gonna hear some words like reasonably believe. That's immediately necessary. Right, to prevent threat, serious bodily injury, or death.
Okay.
You can hear those terms. They're kind of universal, right? So to understand use of force, you got to understand what's considered reasonable. So that's what it all it lays out in the four corners of the law, right? So what's considered reasonable? How do we get to what's reasonable? Because it's reasonably justified, right? Yeah. You hear that all the time. Was it justified? Doesn't mean right. Doesn't mean wrong. Was it justified? So you have to establish on both sides. If Chuck had an incident where he's out doing whatever, he has to show that what he did was reasonable, right? If an officer or law enforcement does it, it has to show that it's reasonable. But he has a line of work that's kind of different because he has to enforce laws, and then you get the Tennessee Gardner, Terry, Ohio, all those things are applicable. That's why I say it's a little variance, because it's a job on this side, right? So when you get to reasonable, how do we establish what's reasonable, right? So you have a set of circumstances that if Chuck or Bert was faced with that same situation, would they have done the same thing? Right? And we all know everybody don't react the same or think the same.
Right.
So in my courses, this is how I explain reasonable to people to make it kind of plain. And actually, it's crazy. I got a remote control right here. This is what I do in class.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, "Do you see this?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What is it?" And everybody said remote. I'm like, how do you know? And they were like, well, it looked like one. I said, okay. What else? Oh, it has buttons. I'm like, oh, like volume and channel. Oh, okay. So from your training, education, and experience, you've actually held one of these and used one so that you recognize it as a remote.
Yeah.
Right? So then I take it and say, I hit it on the table. I say, what does this tell you about the remote? And it generally takes them, a few. And they were like, it's hard? Oh, okay, it's hard. Gotcha. So now you've seen it, you know it makes noise and it's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. So now if I do like this and look at you crazy, what does this tell you? Now you adding these together.
You're trying to throw that at me.
How do you know?
Because you're in a particular motion and it looks as if you headed towards me.
Right. So now we're taking in, I might have watched baseball, I might have played baseball, right?
Yeah.
This is a baseball throwing position that you know to be. We've established something that we can see, and it could hurt me if it hits me. You saw my facial expression that was aggressive. So would it be reasonable that if I did this, I'm about to throw this at you?
Huh.
Now you have to do that fast.
Right.
Well, at the end of the day, the law generally says it's presumed reasonable. So you still have to prove that your action was reasonable, or your attorney is going to have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that, you being in control. Go ahead, Mark. My bad.
I was just going to ask you that analogy that you gave. It kind of hits different, but in that same vein of what Chuck was talking about, what are some of the biggest misconceptions related to justifiable versus reasonable versus the new moniker from the law standpoint is I feared for my life.
Actually, that one actually I believe was taken out. That didn't really apply, because if you feared, it should fall into their reasonableness. It should fall into that. I think they figured it out years ago. Go ahead.
Are you speaking from Texas or are you speaking across the board?
Generally across the board, because it's easy to say I fear for my life, but then you got to tell how you fear. So it goes back to what's reasonable and the articulable facts and circumstances that made you fearful. Because just saying I was in fear for my life, what does that mean? I ask my students, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But like that's what I'm asking, because I mean that's new wordplay, and you said that it's been out for a while. You never hear it from the aspect of the public. It was always from an officer as a defense or his. I guess that's the play on words. How does that translate? And back to my original question, what is the biggest misconception that you see people dealing with as coming from a law background versus law and legal versus public?
So as it relates to use of force?
Or any of it?
I would say, go ahead.
The things that you have to change most related to people's thought processes.
I would say the understanding, right? So getting in the books and understanding where a lot of this stuff comes from, right? Because we get media play and they pump certain images and this and that, but what happened to actually going and learning about use of force? Like you can actually go look it up, right? You can learn about Terryville, Ohio, Tennessee Garden. You can actually go look those things up, but then we don't want to do that. We'll go get somebody interpret it and tell us what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of going and looking at it and understanding it for yourself, because in my class, like we show videos, right? And then people started, I was like, you remember they showed you this on TV? But then we watched this and slowed it down and broke it down. Perception starts to change. Because now you have the information, you have the knowledge base to be like, oh, that's what they was talking about. But if you don't know, you just taking whatever somebody you think know tell you, and they just pump it in your head. You're like, okay. Hope that answers the question in a roundabout way.
So check it out. And one of the questions that I know I wanted you to dig a bit deeper into, and before I ask my question, I want to get to Damon Harris's question from YouTube. He's saying with the new Texas law of permitless carry, do you think there'll be an uptick of use of force and carrier knowledge training? And then he has a follow-up or an addendum or an uptick of people going to jail for thinking that it's the Wild West. And then once you address that, I'll get it. I think it kind of goes along with what Bert was asking, but I definitely wanted to reference Damon and the folks over on YouTube.
So I mean, just they say that the stats have shown that states that have constitution to carry, it didn't go up because now everybody got a gun and criminals are scared to try things or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My approach to looking at it is the second part of that, people going to jail. I think there will be, because you don't know where to find the law. You don't know what it says.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, yeah, you can go buy you a firearm, but the use of that firearm must qualify for self-defense,
right,
or defense of third parties or whatnot. Otherwise, you probably just caught a charge.
You going to jail, Hoppo.
Right. I mean, because you, again, like I think we talked last night, a lot of the students have come in with preconceived notions, what they were programmed with. And then we actually pull it up and look at it, and we go through, and you know, see faces drop, and it's like, what? So there needs to be a training, and they're going to come out with some kind of, I guess, a PowerPoint presentation, but then there's nobody to interpret it correctly.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Permitless carry. You know, whatever Texas does, Mississippi seems to follow shortly thereafter. Well, anything that's negative, Mississippi will follow Texas. And I guess, is there regulations? Because I'm not familiar. I got a lot of family in Texas. Are there regulations on what is considered reasonable to carry? You ain't got folks walking around with ARs out in public, do you?
Yeah.
Golly.
So think about it like this. Again, going back to in the book, a firearm has a definition.
Mm-hmm.
A long barrel rifle is not. It's classified totally different. Wow. Most of these laws talk about firearms, which is pistols, which is why a lot of people were able to walk around slinging, because what the law was talking about was not that.
That's crazy.
So interpretation of the law is what I'm gathering that we need to gain a greater understanding of.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Law.
Because part of what I do in class, and again, I try to make my class more informative, right? Mm-hmm. I try to show you, I'm not a lawyer, but I do have experience in this, right? But I try to show people how to read, because and can make a difference, or can make a difference, unless can make a difference. All of that has to be taken into consideration. So I tell people, think about the movie, I forgot what it was. I think Matthew McConaughey, and he was selling it to the last part to the jury, right? And he had them close their eyes, and he told the story, right? Yeah. Well, that's what generally happens is they have that closing argument and say, jury, if this individual doesn't meet what this law say, this, you must convict, or you must find not guilty. Well, all those words make a difference. And or unless, people need to know that drugs and gun possession do not go together.
Was that a Time to Kill or the Lincoln Lawyer?
I think it was Time to Kill.
Okay, yeah, with Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
But the key part, he it's that closing part where it's like they go, like a prosecutor would go line by line of the law and say, if this didn't meet this criteria, you must convict or find not guilty type deal, right?
Yeah.
But we have got to know, you cannot be a provoker of an incident and claim self-defense in some states.
Yeah.
Mississippi is one of them. It says you can't be the starter of the situation and then it goes south and you claim self-defense.
Yeah, you can't be talking shit and running your mouth and then try to set it off.
Right. So, and then take into consideration, like I was mentioning, drugs and guns. It also says you cannot, and in Texas and Mississippi too, it says you cannot be engaged in criminal activity. Right. Huh. So think about your normal possession of less than 2 ounces.
And the 2 ounces that you talk about is marijuana.
Marijuana, right? Marijuana.
Yeah.
So if it's not legal in your state, in the law book, that's still a crime.
Oh, buddy, I know that.
So therefore, you have a pistol. You just got your hands charged.
Yeah. Bless you, Bert.
My bad, Bert. I didn't mean to bore you to death, team. My bad.
So look, this is like you said earlier. This is a rabbit hole of a conversation, and this is definitely why I think more private conversations like what you do via Omega Defense is definitely needed. But I wanted to make sure that folks know that Omega Defense is doing more than the training and firearms training and self-defense training, but you've got some extensive stuff that you're doing in terms of your community service, and you got like a scholarship fund that you've established. So give us some more information about that, and then we'll jump back to a couple of other questions that I've seen come up in the comments.
Okay, so years ago I wanted to have a scholarship coming through school, hard times, and I said one day I'm gonna have a scholarship. So from learning from some of the bros that's doing good things, I felt, because my journey was a young minority, want to be in law enforcement, want to be a cop. So I figured there are others out there. And so I started the Omega Defense Scholarship Foundation. That's going to be a minority-based criminal justice scholarship for those going into criminal justice type related fields. So your lawyers, your police, your feds, whatever, as long as it has a criminal justice tie, political science tie, just to offset. Because I believe that we do make a difference when there are minorities in these positions, right? Because you talk about the diversity of everything like that. It plays a part in the bigger scheme of things. So I want to be a vessel for the upcoming generations, as far as assisting with money, and then also mentorship, just kind of giving them things I've learned over my career and connecting them with others in the field that they may want to go into. Because I had mentors, but I wish I had more and was receptive. So that's the purpose of it. We just gave away our first $500 scholarship to a young lady at Ole Miss who wants to be a Supreme Court justice. We're pending the one in Texas over at UTA Arlington. Okay. We've got to go over there and give her hers. But how I do it, some of the funding, I've had people donate. I hadn't got no big donations or whatever, because I'm kind of grassroots in a lot of what I do, right? Yeah. I started Omega Defense grassroots from the ground up. But so you take a class from me, right? I've over the time purchased guns, not because I wanted them, it's for the business, right? So if we're going to the range has guns you can rent. So you can rent one of mine. That rental fee goes to the scholarship.
Nice. Now you also, in addition to like you talk about gun rentals and things like that, or your classes and training, you also have some referral programs. I know that we have some true gun enthusiasts in the comments, and I would definitely want to give a shout out to my co-host Mac. Mac is taking care of some other things, but he took the time out to chime in tonight in the comments, and he actually has a comment that we want to get to, but I want you to talk about some of the programs that and the partners that you have outside of your training and your classroom thing. So talk about some of those.
All right. So one of the biggest things, partnerships I have is with United States Concealed Carry Association, USCCA. They are one of the biggest self-defense liability insurance carriers. Basically, if you have a gun, you need some type of legal protection on standby. Right. So they basically have training. You can log in, like those videos I was talking about, situational awareness training and different shooting. They have all of that for the people who purchase the monthly subscription, right? But it also has benefits as far as when the incident occurs, you call, they bail you out, get your lawyers, bond it out. They do all of that. They cover civil and criminal. So just having that is a major plus. They also provide extra training manuals, like get a little book where you can go look at things. They like if you sign up through one of the I thought I had one of the gun, but they give you like a little training gun. They're all about safety and trying to get people trained and understand. They have books about reasonableness, and so that's one of them. Secondly, partner with Eclipse holsters. So again, having firearms, you want good quality firearms, you want good quality equipment. So I was able to partner with this company where you can make and design custom holsters. They got all different kinds for a lot of various guns.
Oh, that's dope.
That's the one I make for the South, the brass, the camo with the purple.
Hey.
And so they have various concealment holsters where you can, that's a Delta wing right here.
That's cute.
Oh, that's so cute.
That's for my pink blazer. You know what I'm talking about? but like this Delta wing, it helps help people keep from printing so much. Printing is when you put it in, and you can see the gun kind of printing through your clothes. That's what that does. Helps push it back into your body a little more. Okay. So they give 15% off to anybody who puts the code in Omega 15. That's one. Pitbull Tactical came out with a universal magazine carrier. Most people call them clips, but they're not clips, they're magazines. But this is a universal, so it fits everything, I believe, from 9mm to a 45. So basically, you can have one magazine and not have to buy a whole bunch of extra ones. This one expands. As you put the magazine in, it expands and holds it tight.
Okay.
What else?
I know one that we talked about on the IG Live last night, and it really took me by surprise. It was the ballistic book bag.
Glad you said that. Here it is right here. So talk to me about this ballistic book bag, and Bert, I definitely want to get your insight on this. From what you shared with me on IG Live last night, and typically, for folks, this is your first time tuning in to Nightcap Knowledge. One of the things we're trying to do more of is tease some of the things that we'll talk about. This is the conversation that we're getting into now, and we're rounding it out. But a ballistic book bag basically gives a person wearing it the opportunity in a active shooter situation, an opportunity to protect themselves. Meaning that if I got my laptop and typically I carry my laptop on the regular, and I would say, Bert, when you leave in the morning, you're probably packing up a laptop. Korah, you probably the same way. You have a laptop, you're gonna carry it. Mm-hmm. I would venture to out, and this is me being, not so generous. 80% of people that we know leave out of the house with a purse that will fit a laptop or a book bag that will fit a laptop. So right. You mentioned that this is a bulletproof laptop?
I mean, like laptop type bag. You can put your laptop in there. You can put your books in there, your stuff, but you can then it will transition into a vest of sorts.
Correct. So this is ballistic backpack made by Leatherback Gear.
Uh-huh.
In my search and just seeing what's out there, I wanted to be able to have products for students just to expose them to what's out there, because sometimes we don't hear about a lot of stuff.
Right.
So this company was some Secret Service guys and military guys got together in response to active shooters and things like that, school shootings, and came up with this ballistic book bag. It's a fully functional book bag, has all the bells and whistles, the mesh, and you already see how I roll.
I see you.
Has everything, little pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah, good quality. It has your laptop section that's fucking find it. Oh, here it is. Your laptop section that's cushioned on the inside has the little mesh belt, if you will. Extra pocket here, and see in mine, I keep a tourniquet in there. So this is usually in my bedroom, right?
Yeah.
It's TSA approved. I've flown out of country and in country with it. And then it has the big section in the back. Also has zippers here, and it has one at the bottom. But the big thing is this red tab right here. So if it goes south, you just grab the red tab, and pull, and it separates, and you got front and back ballistic panels inside of this.
Wow.
And so you put it over your head, pull these bottom straps to get it tight. It also has your emergency information here, rated for up to a 44 Magnum, and then it has like most of us have a 5-year warranty type deal. This is and then it has your little handles down here that normally you tighten it up with. You pop it loose, then you have makeshift tourniquets, or put them around the leg or arm and be able to drag somebody if you can't get them. So they kind of put a lot of work into it. I like that. I didn't get no endorsements off this. I bought this because I was like, need one of those.
From a whole different standpoint, especially education, my mind is just blown with that. Number one, the usefulness of it. Tripping. I know some teachers that could definitely use that. That's why I'm going with it. A lot of people. And I know we're coming from different backgrounds, but of course, Mississippi has the state mandate to where all book bags have to be mesh or see-through.
Right.
But it goes to which one is more important, and it's a terrible world in which we live, but that's reality. The only reason that that's being sold or even being manufactured is because there's a need for it. Let me back up with this. What is the price of that?
So we have a discount code, gives you Omega 10, gives you 10% off of it. They range. So this is the adult one. It's ranging, I think it was $299, like $300. That's about the average, about $300. They have the kids version, which is little. They have a sport version, which is a little smaller than this one. Then they have a tactical, the ones like kind of army, got all the little pockets and all that kind of stuff. It's like $345. So you get 10% off Omega 10. It's about starting between probably $250 and $350-ish in that range.
Now does that come with those plates and everything, or
everything?
Everything. Okay.
Now you can actually go to their website and just buy insert if you just want to. If you already got a book bag, you want to put an insert in it. They sell inserts too. But this one comes just like this, front and back, ready to go.
Okay. Man, that's like Bert, you said it's unfortunate for the times that we live in, but the
It's
thing is,
reality.
it's the reality, right? We've had multiple school shootings, and it's sad to say that we haven't had as many school shootings as of late because in the past 2 years, everybody has been um,
Separated.
separated and pushed into being insulated at your home base.
Yeah.
But immediately my mind goes to, when the first school shooting the same
So,
day that
soon after they started,
like damn man, like, and then like Bert, you mentioned the Mississippi mandate for mesh backpacks, and I'm like, what's the point of that? And then if I really want to protect my 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 school age children, and I'm saying my school age children, I got a niece in school, I got another niece in high school, I got my boys in elementary school and preschool. In the event that shit hits the fan, as we said earlier, they don't have, and we can go over it like, hey, this is what you need to do. And we talked about this a bit on the live on IG. But what do you do when you don't have, any type of protection for yourself and your parents aren't there? Because I, like you said, situational awareness, and you kick in, and parenting is something that you become better at the more that you do it. But the first thing that you're gonna do if something is potentially happening to your baby or your babies, you gonna jump in front of anything that's gonna try to harm them. So if you're not there to protect them, what do you do when you got a mesh backpack mandate? You know what I'm saying?
Chuck, let me address this, and you are 1,000% right. But it's kind of funny. Now one of the another mandate that's going on in the state of Mississippi is situational awareness training. Now, this goes back to what Mr. Pound said. Who's conducting these trainings, and what background do they have?
Who is this asshole?
Who the f- is this asshole?
You know what I'm saying?
I'll give you a
Come on,
perfect
Fat Man.
example. Perfect example. The training is good, but if it's not done by a person who, number one, has the background, who's aware themselves, or
Right.
been in situations that where they can conduct a accurate training, then you wasting time going through the motions.
Yes.
Perfect example, and I won't mention this school district. It's definitely not the school district I work in, but there is a school district in the state of Mississippi that has doors that lock all the doors. If you're having all these trainings, there's twofold issues.
Huh.
Number one, the state mandate says that it is inappropriate for the windows to be closed when you're educating or doing teaching. So, if anything inappropriate goes on from sexual innuendos or things of that nature, they need to be seen and they need to be open. But then when there's an intruder in the building, you automatically let the covering down so they can't see in there or see step away from the door, go to the corners, shield yourself or whatever the case may be. All of that's fine and good, but why in the hell are not all the doors in the building? Why don't they all lock from the inside then? Wouldn't that be the logical thing? But in this school district, there are locks on the outside. Where they do that at? Mississippi.
mm,
My God.
But I mean, that's just a perfect example. You're doing these trainings, going through the motions, but like my grandma used to say, you stick your head in the ground with your ass out.
yeah, you
I'm just,
gotta.
just saying.
It's very different. It's very very different nowadays.
And
Uh,
FYI, Mr. Pounds, you definitely probably could come to the state of Mississippi. I would like for you to come back home and make a shit ton of money doing training for school districts.
Hmm.
It's out there. It's definitely out there. It's different. Like Chuck and I talked last night that the whole situational awareness thing. It starts at the house, having those conversations, having the plan at the house, and hopefully it carries over into the school with the individual. It also sucks though because unfortunately the individual that has typically does those incidents knows the layout of the school.
Yeah.
They've been there.
Yeah.
So again, the bad guy picks the time and place. You always behind the curve, right? It's just when it happens, what do we know to do? What have we trained ourselves to do? So you have the color codes of awareness, right? You go from white to black. Some stop at red, right? When that's time to act, time to go, etc. What is wrong is wrong. What you see is actually what you saw. But there's a black level to that too. That's the extreme panic. When extreme panic sets in, that's where your fight, flight, or freeze comes in, right? So you either gonna stay there or you're gonna try to get back to that red and start doing something.
Mm-hmm.
But that comes from the situational awareness and that reality-based training to put you in those situations earlier.
Yeah.
I knew this guy. He and his daughter practiced, and he said she was 10. That at their house they actually practiced emergency drills. Like, if you don't hear my knock on this door, you do not open the door. You do what I told you to do, and I ain't gonna tell you what he told me to do.
Yeah.
Let's she know how she got a little 410 behind the door.
Well, that was my first gun, the 410 shotgun, single shot. My daddy said if you need more than one shot, you don't need to be shooting.
Right.
Wow. So, but yeah, it's various, man. It's just the world we live. And the best thing we can do is be prepared. So I tell people, self-defense is nothing more than layers. You have to create layers. In your home defense, you have to have layers. You can't say, oh, well, I got this, my house is safe, right? So your layer is going to be your mental. You got to make yourself a hard target, right? So you got hard and soft. Well, you got hard and soft with you, and you got hard and soft in the location where you are. So you got to make yourself better equipped, better prepared, better knowledgeable, and all that. And then where you are, you got to go through and do an assessment. Like, do you got alarms? Do you have deadbolts? Do you know how to work the alarm? Does it work? Is it working properly? Do you have animals that can alert you if something's going on? Do you have an escape plan? All these things that you just have to layer.
Do your outside doors, do they open to the inside or to the outside?
Right. Those things you just have to start. And we call it in the safety world a healthy paranoia, right? That yellow orange area. You don't want to get so paranoid you walk around like a ninja and waiting for it to jump off. But you want to be able to recognize it faster, which is going to help your reactionary gap, which is going to help you in the long run.
Yeah. Doc, I think man, look, I know that your classes and I don't know what your typical student is, but I think that there is true, and this is me and my entrepreneurial mindset. I think there's truly a market, like a funnel that we need to create for Omega Defense, where, like you get a head of household, in this circle, and that head of household goes through this training, and then once the head of household gets the buy-in from the other spouse to get the kids and everybody that's in that particular house in this particular type of scenario, meaning that everybody gonna sit down, one Saturday for at least an hour, and you'll advise them or these group of families about how to develop these layers, meaning that, yeah, you got an alarm, you got the Ring doorbell, you got the ADT, you have a firearm, you got all of these things, but what the questions that you need to ask yourself, the checklist, the timeline of things where you need to go through and say, hey, when the last time I cleaned my gun, or when the last time I tested my alarm, all of that. And this is shit that I think about, but I didn't know that I was doing what you just described until all right, I went and tested the alarm. All right, let me make sure this alarm working the other day. I think, dog, you need to be doing that.
And think about it like this: from experience, right? The delay. How long was your delay?
Yeah.
Right? Do you set it so immediate? If something happened, it immediately goes off, or do you have it still with that delay on it?
Right.
I installed a motion detector. I'm thinking, okay, little motion. I walked back there and stand in front of it for 3 minutes and I ain't said a word.
Ain't did not a damn thing.
I ain't did a damn thing.
Look, McRae, and that's when I knew it was a height thing with ours. And I was like, oh, I got to angle this thing down. McRae went in the house, then went slap to the bathroom. He had to go. Went slap to the bathroom, and I say, I know I turned this alarm on. I go in and I look at my phone, I look at the app, I look at the unit, I look at the app again, and then when I come into line of sight for the motion detector, then it went off. And I'm like, oh, okay. We got a blind spot, and I have to adjust, the angle on this particular motion detector for this situation. So if you're not going through and doing these things, and you're not paying attention to it, man, you don't know how many blind spots that you missing, shit going over your head, and you are you think you're protected, but you're not.
And then the reset, because it resets itself. It's a delay in the reset when it reconnects to the system after it was triggered.
Right. And then the other part that I never found out, but my dad and my father-in-law put me on game, and women, I'm not just going to, this sounds sexist as hell, but women are oblivious to this. The reason, you do it yourself, people, getting them cheaper doors, there's a reason that exterior doors open to the outside. There's a reason for that. It's harder to kick your door in.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Bert.
And the other aspect of it is kind of funny with, everybody has these Ring doorbells and things of that nature. But what people don't know, Vivint or Ring or whoever, what happens when your power goes out? Everybody doesn't have a delay power source. So they cut the power to your house. Guess what? There you go again with your head in the sand and your ass out.
Hey, bud, we got that batter over here.
So
hey, you bring your ass up on the pond. Hey, you might have your ass down with your head up.
So speaking of doors, one of the things we talk about in the actual self-defense class is when they build a house, the striker plate in the door.
Yeah.
The screw is about that long.
Right.
That screw is going into that cheap little frame, the trim.
That so fake ass wood.
Yeah. So you need to go buy a wood or galvanized screw that's about 2 inches and drill it into the frame of the house.
There it is.
Right? So stuff like that. We just gotta get exposed to a lot of this stuff in the layering conversation.
Dog, it's some folk out there that pay for that list, dog. We finna get this.
That's why I'm sitting here telling you, like, in the district that I will not name, like, there's this math teacher sitting in there, and they go to the back of the room, and you're not supposed to be seen, but this less than intelligent individual leaves the door unlocked and cracked. Who the fuck is this asshole?
Hey, next week I'm gonna have it on my trigger. It's gonna be just like this. Who the fuck is this asshole? I'm gonna have that ready. Like that. Hey, man. I'm going to get Samuel Jackson. Look, I'm making notes of it right now. Although, and I want to be clear, I made a lot of notes from our conversation tonight, Korah, and I really want to encourage you to at the very, and I talked to you about this offline, dog. You need, this, and you said it's other folks that may be doing something similar, but dog, your context is and Max said something about this earlier, and it was about culture. He said culture versus policy, but I think you having the particular cultural competency as it relates to you being a black man living in America, being from Mississippi, having traveled the world, it gives you.
Don't forget, he went to Ole Miss. Throw that in there.
Yeah, and that too. Like, yeah, dog, you went to Ole Miss. So what I'm saying is that you being the person that you are and the life skills that you gain will give you
it carries weight.
Point. Yeah, it does carry weight, and it gives you a different vantage point that I think a lot of folks could benefit from. And we need like a home defense, home preparedness checklist. Like, you need to be doing this every 3 months. You need to be doing this or at the 6 month mark, 9 month, 12 month, and then hey, once your kids get of a certain age, you need to have these type of conversations. If you're not comfortable having these conversations, you need to call your local person that might be able to come by and have that conversation. And if not, you can get on Zoom with Omega Defense.
What is the appropriate age for your child to be around firearms? When do you need to start teaching firearm safety? What type of firearm is appropriate for a woman versus a man? What is the appropriate firearm for home defense? People don't realize all of those questions are significant questions you need to be aware of and have an answer for.
And also, I don't know how much time we got, but also in those questions, getting the knowledge, that's what it's about, getting the knowledge earlier. Because like for instance, I've had people call and they think the bigger the gun, the more impact, right? And all this stuff. I mean,
I just shot a deal with a 22.
Right. More people probably got killed from a 22 than a lot of stuff. So you see this and all this little tricky stuff, right? Yeah. And then I pull this little bitty one. It's the same caliber gun. It's gonna do the same thing.
Same thing.
But it's just those misconception and ideal. And I also want to just mention, when you bringing up stuff like this,
revolver,
BB gun.
Oh, that's a BB gun?
Right.
Wow.
BB gun that looks just like my other ones, but I painted it so it'll look different.
Wow.
Bought it on a certain website that ships to people's houses. $40.
BB gun. That looks like.
That looked like a real snub nose.
Watch this.
Hell no.
That's a BB gun?
Yep. That's where your BB go, and then a little it's an airsoft, so it shoots a little BB out of that, but it functions just like a real revolver.
Hell no.
So I talk to my students about, there are people robbing people with that.
Mind blown.
So I mean, and you can buy that straight offline. Yes, your kid can buy it. Yes, ain't no. Are you 18 or above? Yes.
Yeah, ain't none of that.
Nah.
And people they losing their damn lives over BB guns.
Look, I mean,
right, right.
Damon just said that's dangerous. And
go ahead, Doc.
I'm the thing I was gonna say. We know of particular incidents where people that look like us have ended up on the wrong side of a gun, the law, etc., and it didn't end well at all.
Correct. And that's the conversation I had with my students, because again, I want to broaden horizons on a whole bunch of different levels. So it's not just like how you feel or whatever. Hey, take all of this in, conceptualize all this, because there was a time when you had to have that
On the end of a BB gun.
Right. But
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
Ain't no way. That's crazy.
Nah, that looks like a 357 Magnum.
and they have them in AR platforms, BB guns, AR-15s.
It just hit me. It just hit me. Bert, when the Royal Salon retreat in Houston, we did paintball.
Right.
We're sitting now, you know, we all out of the PE bros, we had to rent the guns from, you know, the paintball guns and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
As we're entering like our third bout or whatever you call when you do paintball, our third round or whatever, there was a group of people that came in and they had paintball guns that were identical replicas of ARs. And I said, hold up. They not playing with us. Because I mean literally like they had a clip and
magazine.
Yeah, see? You see what I did?
Right.
It had all of that, and it had little sights, scopes. I said, man, oh hell no. They ain't playing with us. Not with them.
And they probably paid as much for that damn paintball replica AR than you would pay for a real one.
Yeah. So look, man, I said that no, we don't need none of that. What is that? That's the BB gun.
Yeah, that's the BB gun.
It has a magazine.
Yeah. And you put the BBs in the magazine, you can reload. It doesn't cycle, but it has the same type trigger. Yeah.
Man, that is wild.
Hold on. Is it repeat trigger? So squeeze and keep going? Hell you say.
And you put the CO2 cartridge in there, so it's pumping out high velocity.
Yeah. Man, look.
Hell you say.
Now the question is this considered a firearm according to the law?
Is it?
Good question.
Right. It's all in the verbiage. That's why I tell people get in them books. Part of the Omega Defense Scholarship thing is it's crazy. Criminal justice is one of the top majors that people go into. They're like, oh, it's criminal justice. But it's like the number one thing be busting in your head because you don't know what's in there.
Yeah. Dog, look.
That's crazy.
I know that I said I had more questions, you know, last night, but there are so many more questions. And I hope that and this is coming from a person that has worked alongside of law enforcement organizations. So I think that dog, and I've done those situational awareness trainings, the simulators, gun safety. Like my dad did gun safety with me growing up, knowing how to position a firearm, which way to point it, all of those things, you know, how to literally be safe with the firearm while you're around other people. Is what my dad did growing up. But then, you know, with working alongside law enforcement officers and trying to bridge the gap between the community and law enforcement, I learned a lot. But this is a whole different arena. This ain't got nothing to do with, honestly, it has nothing to do with police.
Right. It
means that if you have a firearm in your house, or if you want to make sure that your family is prepared for the event of an emergency, if you want to make sure that your kids are prepared for an active shooter scenario, if you want to be prepared for an active shooter scenario, you need to be making sure that you spend some time with Omega Defense LLC.
We here for you.
And look, on this live, I told you this last night, but man, look, a 20 to 30 page ebook is in your future, and we're gonna help you sell that motherfucker. I'm telling you this right now.
This vote. But no, look at old Kenosha.
Hey, look at old 3.
But you know, at the end of the day, team, it's just layering and really training with your firearm, getting past that. static training and get into some stuff that can really, really help you. Because I mean, do you know how to reload quick? Do you carry extra magazines? Do you know about cover concealment? You know, because again, don't assume you're the only person with a gun. And then even in the home castle doctrine and all that, that's a whole different animal. I tell my class there are 5 judgments that's going to happen.
Yeah,
right. 5 judgments. You're gonna have to make a decision that moment whether to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah. When
the officer shows up, it's gonna be a decision made. Right? DA gonna make a decision. You got a jury, they're gonna make a call. If they ain't got that, might be the judge.
Hey, buddy.
And you got to make sure what you did fall within that, or you're gonna have a bad day with those 5 decisions. And the only way to get ready for them, or at least try to get ready for them, is to train, understand the law, what it says, how it's interpreted, the climate of your area. Also, take it to the park, because people think, I remember one lady was like, and I've heard it, I'm sure y'all heard it. Somebody breaking your house, you boom, 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 and you make sure you drag them across the threshold to make sure they was in the house. Now, you're going to jail. That's tampering with evidence. You're going to jail. Right? But I've had people say that because that's that's what they're taught. But these doctrines and these laws, they read very specific. Yeah. Like there's a guy in the Dallas area ended up shooting a man that was breaking into his shed. Mm-hmm. He wanted to claim castle type doctrine. Well, the shed is not your castle. Yeah. He's in jail.
Yeah.
Right? That's technically criminal trespassing and criminal mischief at night, which there is variance on certain things. But again, those 5 decisions, he made one, but the other people like, nah, bruh.
Nah, Chief. Nah, Chief, this ain't it.
This ain't it. You gotta know. You just got to engulf. If you're gonna be a gun owner, you need to have insurances, training, practice, and it's a perishable skill. If you don't pick your gun up for a while, I hate when people. And I'm sorry if I'm going over. I hate when people say muscle memory. Okay, riddle me this, Batman. If you ain't worked out in forever and you go in the gym and go hard, does your body react the same that first time?
No, sir.
No, sir. It does not. It take a while to get it back to where I know what to do, but the body ain't where it needs to be to get it done this first go around. Let me do it again for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Same thing with self-defense and firearm training.
Good God.
Hell no.
Hey,
if you hadn't touched that weapon and did some dry fire practice, moving that magazine, racking that slide, it's perishable skill.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And at the end of the day, all of us are trying to get to what? We going to where the money resides, ladies and gentlemen. And to the people out there, all the trolls, go find your ass something else to do. I ain't even gonna say your name, but I'm gonna block your ass on Twitch. I don't want to cuss too bad because I'm trying to make sure I make my daddy proud, but your ass. We'll see y'all right here next Tuesday. Nightcap Knowledge, 9 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern. As always, we'll be live on
Black with No Chaser.
See y'all next week. DJ George Chuck, always in the mix. Thank our esteemed guest, Omega Defense LLC. Make sure y'all go over to R&B Ribs JXN October 2nd. Go ahead and get it. Want to shout out our guest co-host for the evening, Blackjack Kennels. Check him out on Instagram. Get them bougie bullies. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Nightcap Knowledge. And it's been one for the books. Thank everybody for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.